vibration does not cause carpal tunnel syndrome. Now before you argue with me, hear me out. It's one of the myths about carpal tunnel syndrome. My name's Hilma Volk. I was a massage therapist for 23 years and I'm the creator of the program Carpal Tunnel Master. Now, what about vibration? I hear it, I've seen it all over the internet. Vibration is a cause of carpal tunnel syndrome, and it's true. People who use machinery that vibrates have a higher incidence of carpal tunnel syndrome, but it's not the vibration that causes it. Case in point, I have a bunch of little massagers here. Half the massagers that you can buy on the internet or wherever use vibration. This is kind of a why bother one. I got these little ones at garage sales or thrift stores, whatever. A little more vibration there. It's used to loosen up muscles. Vibration is for therapeutic use. There's a little bit more. Here's a heavy-duty professional massager. And you'll say, wait a second, that's only used for a little bit of time on your muscles. Well, that's true. I've got a massage chair here. It uses vibration. You lay on it, it feels good, but you say, oh, that's just a little bit of vibration. Well, let's turbocharge that massage chair. Let's have it really thumping up and down. Blah, 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 blah. You're just vibrating like crazy, and you're sitting on that thing 40 hours a week. But as long as you're not holding on to anything, it's not causing carpal tunnel syndrome. I don't know what it's doing to your internal organs, but it's not causing carpal tunnel syndrome because it can't. That's impossible. So why do people who use vibrating machinery have a higher incidence of carpal tunnel? Well, let's say you're using a jackhammer, and that's the worst thing I can think of. Yeah. Or there's other machinery that's industrial that you're holding on so tight, or you're going down a road that's bumpy and it's gravel and it's got all these ruts in it, and you're in an ATV or a motorcycle or a dirt bike, even a mountain bike or a dump truck, whatever, and you're vibrating like crazy and you have to hold on to that thing. Let's say it's a rototiller that you're holding on to. It's not the vibration, it's the fact that you have to grip that thing tight. You're really gripping that machine, or else it'll get away from you, or you can't control it. Now, what causes you to have a grip? It's your forearm muscles. You can prove that to yourself. Feel your forearm muscles with your other hand as you make a tight fist. Or if you don't feel it, then squeeze something and then feel it. It's the forearm muscles that close your fingers and open your fingers. Close your fingers, open your fingers. The ones in the front are called the flexors. They're the one that make the grip. Now you use that in extreme cases. Those forearm muscles get tighter and tighter because they're used so much. They shorten up. You get knots in them, you get muscle fibers stuck together, you get shortening in the muscles. They get muscles actually in muscle little cells in contraction. It shortens up those flexor muscles. That pulls things forward, and that creates imbalance in your forearm. So these muscles in the back, they have to compensate for it too, and they compensate by trying to pull your muscles back so they're not forward all the time when you're not working. And as a consequence, they get tighter because they should be relaxed when you're not working, and they're just pulling to compensate so there's not such much of an imbalance in there. And there's going to be an imbalance because you're just using that grip so hard. And what happens? That shortens the muscle, and that's pulling on the tendons that go through your carpal tunnel. These little pencil things that are by your wrist, there's tendons going through there. And you can see them move up and down as you move your fingers back and forth, because inside there's little hollow tubes where the tendons are just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth when you're moving your fingers like that. But when you're gripping, those just tighten. They're just pulled in. And if those shorten, well, there's less room in the carpal tunnel. If your forearm muscles are pulling your wrist forward, there's less room in the carpal tunnel. So what do doctors do? Oftentimes, because this is what doctors learn. Doctors learn pills, shots, and surgery. They don't learn about muscle imbalance. It's not usually part of their curriculum. What do they do with carpal tunnel syndrome? They make more room in the carpal tunnel. What's the carpal tunnel? It's a ditch made up of wrist bones, and across the front here is a strap called the transverse carpal ligament. What they do is snip that or otherwise loosen up that strap to make more room in the carpal tunnel. So they're looking here. They're not looking at the muscle, which is what, if you loosen up the muscle, you don't have the problem. You don't have to cut anything. You don't have to do any surgery. So, and a lot of physical therapists, they know about muscle imbalance, but most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, they're using stretches to relieve the carpal tunnel. And stretches work, but, and you can find all kinds of stretches on the internet for carpal tunnel. The trouble with it is it takes a lot of persistence. And if you don't see results right away, you're not going to persist. And why does it take persistence? Because let's say I've got, let's say I could take one strand of muscle and pull it, okay, and stretch it. What happens? Let's say there's a bunch of little knots in there, or muscle fiber stuck in contraction. Well, the easiest part to stretch is going to stretch first. And the knots and stuff in there, they're going to stretch last, the very last thing. So you might be all done stretching and you have barely touched the problem. So as you stretch more and more and more often, yeah, you get into it, but if you're doing a stretch like this and you need to do a stretch like that or that, you know, it takes quite a bit of time to do those stretches. And they can eventually work, but you may be tightening up your muscles by working faster than you can loosen them by stretching. Whereas my approach is a self-massage approach, and that's what my course is about carpal tunnel. But if you're a human resource person, or you're involved in an industry where you've got a lot of people using vibration, let me know. I can consult with you and see if we can work out a solution for your people. But this is Hilma, just saying that carpal tunnel syndrome is not caused by vibration. It's caused by having to grip things that vibrate. And it's a forearm problem that creates problems in the carpal tunnel. But if you make the forearm better, you're saving yourself a whole bunch of money, a whole bunch of grief. Because, you know what? Now, in industrial situations, only about 25% of the people who have carpal tunnel surgery can return to the same occupation they had before. Why is that? Because their grip strength is no longer there. When you cut this ligament or loosen it up in any way, well, you're losing leverage. Why? Because the strap is there for a purpose. The purpose there is to provide leverage when you're gripping. If you loosen that up, you lose part of that leverage, and your grip will never be as strong. In some cases, if scar tissue builds up in there, maybe their grip does return eventually after a year or so, but in most cases that grip never returns. They can't do the same occupation as they did before. Whereas if you loosen your muscles, the more you loosen them, the more productive you are. The more you can work on other things. So, it's, you know, why follow the symptoms? Get to the cause. I'm Hilma from Carpal Tunnel Master, and if you're a human resource person, you know, you're free to contact me, and I can give you a free consultation of what you can do for your people. Thanks.